I'm that girl who is sending all of her love to Canada. Yeah, so much love, so much love, so much love, so much love, 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 squeezing you and hugging you tight to let you know all is going to be okay. And I'm so sorry this is happening to your country, deeply, truly, sincerely. Ugh, how heavy is it? Yuck. And this is not just unique for Canada, unfortunately. And I wish it could just be one country and everyone learn from it. And we definitely will, but possibly after the shift, which isn't helpful. So I know many fantastic practitioners in Canada, and I have many clients in Canada, and I just send you so much of my love, and everyone listening, you know that you are protected, you know you are safe. And I know that it doesn't sort of help with those heavy hearts that you have right now. But this is what your country needs to awaken to itself and to its agendas. It's so disappointing that it has to get to this stage. But as we know, it needs to be at this stage. So it's almost like the more horrific things are, the better the growth for people to awaken. So celebrate this as a positive to be able to then trust that those people who have still been quite happy to just trust the plan of their governments, knowing the best for them, this is going to be part of your collapsing of that for you. And this is happening in all different countries to various degrees. And I want to bring my attention and your attention now to Ukraine. You are protected. You are utterly safe. But you're not safe from misrumors, and you're not safe from fear when you choose to buy into those rumors. You know, it just must feel so vulnerable being surrounded. And when you do love the people that you're around and love the country you're in, and then you feel like you're constantly in threat from a war, from a really big country, that does feel very scary. But again, this is what this country needs and what those people need. It's the people really over the actual physical land of that country. But we know that when people are pushed into that density, they have no other choice but to expand and unify and connect and talk about things that they probably wouldn't before, which is, are we safe from people? What is the state of humanity and all of that stuff? So, so heart-wrenching, isn't it, my friend? Especially when we know it's not going to get to this point of peace. We know that there are many influences that keep saying that we're in a golden age right now. Where is that? Where is that? Yes, we can have inner peace, and that could be a golden age, but we have to be really focused on what is going on and not lose our balance. So if you can't send energy and send love and healing and high frequency vibrations to all of these people that are really struggling right now, if you don't want to deal and help humanity, then yeah, definitely just assume you're in the golden age of peace, and just play with yourself and sort of keep out of density. That's the best you can do. Then fantastic. Yes, just keep out of density and keep out of people's way, and definitely don't go into fear, and definitely don't hold on to lots of drama and density, because it's not good for you and it's not good for anything else. So lots of my clients have experienced certain things really interestingly, all the time. I'm always learning and expanding with each session that I do as a practitioner and as a client, obviously. But it's really interesting because I keep forgetting certain things that, I don't assume everyone's listened to all of the sessions on Conversations with Heaven on Earth. I think there's like 500 sessions there. It's a lot. It's more than a hobby, listening to all of that and applying it and processing it. And I know lots of people who listen to the sessions and can't work out how they all connect into each other. It's like separate puzzles, and it just confuses them, and they don't know what to do with them. So they just sort of still spin out, which is fine. That's a choice. And so for those people who are truly wanting to bridge those gaps and see how they all connect in, that is quite rewarding, because it can give them the bigger perspective and bigger picture of what's going on right now. And I also know that a lot of people who suddenly stumble across these sessions feel really overwhelmed, because they're like, shoot, I'm late to this party. This is so much work. I've got to binge listen. And I've known quite a few people that literally binge listen to these sessions. Those are, it's intensive, but almost too intensive, because it's just so overwhelming, but also really comforting. They sort of say that all of their questions keep getting answered in sessions, so they keep needing to listen to more and more and more of them, which is fantastic. Then they kind of seem to go through this phase where they're so saturated with information, they need to have some time out to process it, live a little bit, have to apply some of these lessons, dip into 3D, crawl out of 3D, and keep listening back to the sessions. And that's totally fine too. I'm certainly not expecting everyone to be able to recite all of the information from the sessions, because I know I possibly couldn't either. So, all is well, no judgment. And so what I wanted to say today and introduce you to, just to remind you, I know most of you already know this, but this is a nice little reminder. So let's just think about humanoids, right? Let's just think about the humanoid bodies and what does it look like here on Earth? Isn't it fantastically interesting, all the different varieties of humanoid bodies? So we love all of the different variants of the humanoid bodies here on Earth in the 3D. And remember, we're here to support those souls who wanted to have the Earth experience, but primarily the most focus for most of us volunteers is to help assist those first original reincarnations and physical planets who are, we can just lazily call them humanity, right? So the humans on Earth in a humanoid body, and they have no other experiences of different planets. They broke away from source and they started having their independent experiences away from source here on this planet, because this planet was supposed to be able to evolve into the fifth dimension by herself, and the whole physical planet was supposed to evolve. Metamorphosis, add in that word now. I feel I'm in this cheeky mood. Anyway, okay, I'll get over myself and try not to laugh at my own jokes, but that's almost as impossible as not crying. So bear with me, my friends. So what I'm trying to say is the human race, the humans that are designed here, the bodies here, the experiences are here, are super lush. There's so many different varieties, different cultures, different countries, different ways of life. And when you have wanted to master the Earth experience, you will want all of them, right? So, those who have, thousands of lives, totally lived here, totally lived there, totally did this. I've done everything on Earth. And that's the soul's glory and fantasticness. And potentially we've done this in different, us who are volunteers who are not, shall we just say, native or originals to Earth, when we've had other lifetimes off planet in our souls, we've done this stuff before. We've done 3D before. We've lived in this density before. Well, no. This Earth experience density is something else, something completely else. And so many of our 3D planets that we originated from no longer exist because of wars. So we never got to experience a fifth dimensional expansion in some cases, or we evolved, but the planet didn't. Now, this is a big thing. The planet being able to emerge and evolve into a fifth dimension in its own journey. And Gaia wanted to embody that body and do it with the body, just like we can't evolve. We can't evolve here in the fifth it's not possible. We can't do it, unfortunately. We can have a bigger mindset that is closer, the starting fingertip into the fifth dimension mindset, which is, releasing all density and worries and seeing things from the bigger perspective and trusting all is well, having faith that all is well, having faith and trust that everything is as it needs to for those experiences, and not get too hung up on taking things personally and just empowering ourselves and enriching ourselves. So we do know that small groups of people have shifted into the fifth here, but that was quite some time ago. I'm sort of thinking of the Mayans, and then there's been little openings where people have sort of slipped into a different dimension here and there. But this is not what's happening at the moment. And we know that many people are having exit points to be able to get their journey started on shifting and evolving. Many are going home to their original planets. And, that's where they've come here to be of service and, just lend their energy and just experience and understand. Found many sort of like influences from other planets are here just to be able to learn firsthand how things are, because it's kind of like Chinese whispers, isn't it? You can read about an experience, but unless you're there, it really, that's, and of course, my experience, if we're in the same room together and we're experiencing the day, my take on the day and your take on the day may be quite different. And so, God, there's so much to be said about here. So anyway, what I'm trying to get to is, Earth is having a big, the physical planet's having a big meltdown because it doesn't have the energy, and it's so poisoned that it cannot shift into fifth. So what would you do? It's not possible for it because it's so super dense, so toxic, not just like with our litter and our poisons, but energetically super toxic. And so it was entrapping and embedding, impaling. I'm not too sure what the right word is there, but it wasn't doing such great things for the soul of Gaia. And it's almost like when you are a young soul and you've got so much things you want to experience and explore in a lifetime, but your body like rapidly ages and you can't get to experience all the things that you want to experience in your life contract because the body gives out. So technically that's what's happening to Gaia, right? Her body is giving out. She can't evolve and she couldn't continue on. And so her life contract had to change because, of what was happening. Other people were using their free will and choices, and she allowed everything to happen to her on her body because she was hoping, and she always had great faith and trust and love and humanity that we would become, mature and responsible and honest and loving to each other and all of that stuff that we haven't quite managed to fully embody yet, because we're still being distracted by influencers who don't actually want that agenda for humanity. So anyway, not saying anything new to you guys, but the reason why I brought up the whole reminding you of the differences of, say, the original Eskimos and the original Pacific Islanders and the original Asians and the original Indians and the original Europeans and all of this stuff, right? We look fantastic in all the different meat suits we can choose. And so that's all of humanity. That represents all of humanity. And we know that while we're all one big, great fraction from source, this is what we look like. Okay. So we could have really lazy assumptions of people who live in certain countries being a certain way. Certainly certain countries do appear to be more entitled to, feeling more special and elite and more deserving of other countries, blah, 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 blah. Not naming any names. Anyway, don't know what I was talking about. But the reality is we all sort of become super patriotic to our countries that we grow up in. And, you know, we sort of want to, it's almost like we've been trained to feel like there is a division. It's us and them, you know, it's us and against the world. And ultimately, we all should have been super respectful and loving of each other. But somewhere along the line, we sort of have got these borders and this disconnect and this dislike and this distrust and all this sort of stuff. And then, of course, you have your own sort of like civil wars and frictions within yourselves and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so getting to my point is, so while humanity looks a whole lot of different things, you know, we know that there are lots of guides and lots of, you know, teams working behind the scenes from, you know, high dimensions, supporting all who are here. And so I had a client, fantastically beautiful client, and she was really shocked to learn in her session that her husband was a reptilian. Now, it was really uncomfortable for her because she went into shock because she loves him. He's a fantastic guy, you know, a father of her children, blah, 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 blah. And she never picked that he was reptilian. And then the subconscious knew she was in deep shock. And so the subconscious quickly came in to just quickly remind her, not all reptilians are bad. And they all have different looks to them, and there's different sort of species and fractions and families and all this sort of stuff. And what it turned out to be more like was that he's a water dragon. We suddenly don't feel afraid of a reptilian when they're a water dragon, do we? Really kind, full of love and compassion and great strength and great leadership skills of love and strength. And yeah, I've said leadership skills, but I could say that 1,000 times. So from her instant fear and shock of a reptilian, no, I've slept with that man. So, you know, the thing is that we can jump to lazy assumptions, right? And so we shouldn't. And just like how there are so many different types of humanoid bodies and different collectives all managing those humanoid bodies and all that sort of stuff, there is lots of different types of reptilians. And now, while they may look so scary in our perception, because we're trained to feel like humanoid bodies are fantastic and, you know, pleasing and comforting for us to sort of see, and it doesn't trigger us. And this is why even a lot of people who desperately want to meet their subconscious or to see their bigger version of selves. And so either in a dream or a meditation, they've seen them and have freaked out because they can be quite shocking, because we haven't developed from this silly small 3D perspective an understanding of it. So we go into judgment, we go into all of this sort of stuff because we're so trained to love photoshopped photos on glossy magazines of, you know, normal people that just look fantastic, you know. So we're not used to bigger proportion eyes. We're not used to smaller mouths. We're not used to flat profile noses and huge heads and kind of shimmering luminescent bodies. And like, while we always think, yeah, bring it on, I can totally handle seeing you guys, often they say you will nearly poop your pants because it's such a shock. And you know, and it's just not necessary to see, you know, a ship coming, landing down on your front yard and, you know, zipping you back up. It doesn't need to be like that. That's actually distraction. And I know many people who keep like praying, show me yourselves, reveal yourselves so then I can finally trust into you. There's lots of inner work if you're having that perception still. So, you know, really the best way to connect in with them is to go within, because they are able to connect in with you deeply when you go within. And that is fantastic. And I highly recommend people trying to do that and just trusting the senses. I know way too many of you that don't trust your fantastic intuition. And so I want to say, release that now. Doesn't serve you at all. And some of you are so ridiculously humble and so shy of your own profound powers. You've dumbed yourselves down to fit into humanity and society. because you're already so naturally gifted in the third dimension because you've mastered that in another planet and it was a breeze. And now you're here to be of profound service. But your profound energy and the way that you feel to others, your super high frequency threatens them outrageously. And so they want to bring you down. They want to shame you. They want to belittle you. And they want to put you in a little small box just so they can step up on that box and make themselves feel better. And sometimes they call themselves our friends. Sometimes they call themselves our bosses or our teachers or our influencers. So, you know, we all have been there to some degree, right? Someone's been triggered by our energy and, you know, they want to diminish us to make them feel good. And that's just screaming inner work for them. And so when we didn't have full power, empowerment of love of self, we felt like we were the ones that were doing something wrong and there was something bad about us and, you know, all that fun stuff to overcome and learn. So please understand that when there is so what looks like reptilians, right? So when you first go into different species, different collectives, you know, and there's all these different parts of collectives. So we all think that the collectives are just one thing, but we have heard, so like the reptilian collective, right? So it's not just one box of one group of beings, right? So there's so many fractions to all collectives. We know the Arcturians really connecting very deeply and closely with the Pleiadians because what they've been doing to the Pleiadians and help support them through their own journeys and all the different planets. So the reptilians, you know, while there are some ones that, you know, may not have the best interest for humanity, there are some that do. And so there is a difference between dragons and what we would call reptilians. You know how humans love labels. We're addicted to labels. It's ridiculous because we limit ourselves so much when we blanketly cast labels on reptilians when we don't actually understand all of the super amount of fractions of different reptilians, right? And I know some really immature people that hear the word reptilian and freak out and be like, oh, the devil, blah, 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 blah. Grow up. Grow up. It's time to grow up now because, you know, there is dragons that would be under the subtext of being called a reptilian. And so you're basically saying, for example, all Europeans are evil and, you know, and you're going to just add it. So I want to make an analogy, but I shouldn't need to mansplain the shit out of this. So ask in your teams, ask in your sessions, what is the reptilians you should be afraid of? And they will say it's a small group. It's a small group of beings and it's not the whole collective. And those reptilians are trying to evolve, just like humans are trying to evolve. And right now there are humans and then there are, within humanity, there are reptilian starseeds. Within humanity, there are heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of collectives, heaps of different starseeds, if you want to label them that. And so, you know, we have to respect all life contracts. We have to respect all souls. You have to respect your own life contract too. And so, you know, there is lots of stuff to be said about that. And when we're in sessions and we're trying to channel our information through our subconscious, and they will give us these statements like, yeah, your husband's a reptilian, shock. And then it's like, well, that would be your label as a human to understand where his kind of species is. But it was beautiful how it expanded out to actually say, well, it's a water dragon. He's loving, profoundly loving, and he doesn't have that negative energy at all, which you would perceive, you know, maybe reptilians would naturally have. They don't, not at all. And so, anyway, I know this is going to trigger heaps of people who are like wanting to just jump to massive conclusions about different species and all this sort of stuff. And yes, my friends, some reptilians and other other planets have done some really terrible things, just like humans have done really terrible things, just like, you know, every family, you know, every group, there will be these profound way showers, and then there'll be some others that are, you know, feeling threatened because of the way showers, or that, you know, the people that want to make a difference and want to help, you know, those beings who want to help and grow, and then, you know, they don't feel supported, and those, you know, I guess I want to say there is prickly cactuses in every collectives. That's a good statement to say. And so what are they doing? You know, they're up to some mischief, they're not up to good, and they have to mature at some point and some level. So do we sit with our judgment and be like, shame, shame, shame on you, we hate you, you're assholes, blah, 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 to some choices that they've made, which is part of their lessons, their journeys, their karmic debt, all of that sort of stuff. Who are we to judge? Seriously, who are we to judge? If there is someone impacting our lives in a really negative way, fantastic. Ask in your session, what is those lessons there? Don't just assume, oh, they're reptilian, because you don't really know. And when we use our Mr. Stupid ego to assume stuff, the quality of information is quite questionable. And that is fine. We can jump to heaps of conclusions. And I see many people doing that because it's coming, they're reacting in fear still. They're reacting in fear and not seeing the bigger perspective, and confused. And, you know, they're really projecting out their own lack of inner work out to the world, and they're making some interesting assumptions. So anyway, I thought it was really interesting to just remind people that there are lots of different things. And, you know, you guys eat reptilians often. Think about every time you've had chicken. Here you are snacking on KFC, judging those reptilians for eating other beings, and you're snacking down on some finger looking good chicken, whatever it is. And I hope that that's a universal joke and that everyone knows what KFC is. So it's, yeah, anyway, see what I mean? We can't judge, because who do you know, unless you know all of your other lifetimes and all of your other choices and experiences. That would be so embarrassing to judge people for something that you think you have entitlement to judge, and then rewind 2 lifetimes ago and whoopsie. So isn't that interesting? And that could almost be part of your way of overcoming your own karma, is when you judge someone for doing something that you potentially did other lifetimes. So that's probably why it's triggering you, maybe because, you know right from wrong now, or something else. And so, you know, all purposeful, lots of life experiences there. And what else did they want me to say? Yeah. So while we're all wanting to know our origins and all that sort of stuff, and get super focused on other past lifetimes, blah, 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 all fantastic, highly recommend it. We need to still remember we're here. We're still here. We're still being of service. And so, you know, many of us are still here wanting to raise the frequency vibration, and not wanting to play in the 3D dramas, and actually evolve and help humanity and be of assistance. And I know lots of people don't want to do that, and that's fine. It's a choice. You know, you've come here for a life contract, and your teams will be pushing you with much love to get on with it and step up. And, you know, people sort of, when people feel like they have to step up, then they're like, oh, am I supposed to save the world? How am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to reach everyone and tell them that they're loved and they're special and everything's going to be okay? And then they start getting backaches and problems, because they put literally the weight of the world on their bodies, on their backs, and start, you know, being pissed off with the world and stomping the feet, and, you know, losing control of their bladder. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. And just check in with your assumptions of what you're supposed to be doing with actually the reality of your true responsibilities. Because often it's quite a nice relief to understand deeply what your subconscious wants to tell you about your actual responsibilities. And people feel much more lighter knowing what is their responsibilities and not. And I find that with parents, bless us, we feel like we are responsible to save our children from lots of painful experiences. So we will literally protect them from those experiences. And of course, it comes with love, and we want the best for our children. But when we see that their teams are like, oh my God, get away, you helicopter parent. These children want these experiences. They need them. Allow them to have it. They are safe. They are protected. They may get some grazed knees or a few tears, but those are lessons. And why we never, ever, 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 ever want anything bad to happen to our children, that density of those experiences, while they are looking very bad and horrible, merge out from those experiences expansion. It's like another form of trigger. You know, every trigger is a great opportunity for growth. And right now, lots of countries are having massive triggers for growth. And so you can see how this is all amplified out, and these experiences and the significances and the importance of everything that's happening right now is profound. So just recall all our overwarring responsibilities and trust and go with the flow of all. And, really focus on ourselves and not get lost in the details of others is a really important thing, I think, just so we can really step up. Because when the shifts happen, that when a lot of light workers shift, they're done, they want to go home, then the energy definitely on this planet will feel insanely dense. I remember I've had heaps of sessions where the clients feel like they're either boulders or rocks. They have this massive weight on their chests and they feel insanely dense. And it really is quite challenging for them and can actually stay with them for some days because it's so dense. You think that life is hard now, my friends? It's hard because we choose to make it hard with our perceptions and mindsets, but energetically and physically, the old earth is the next level of intensity, and it will be energetically dense. Seriously. And so this is why our teams keep begging us with much pressure and love to release all our own density, so then we can just ground ourselves down and not be part of the problem. And so when this density does kick in, we're so empowered and with self, so profoundly high vibrational within ourselves, we can hold energy for those around us. That is a profound being of service. And many people are waiting to somehow feel like they can be part of the solution, and they don't quite know how it fits in. And the subconscious says, yeah, because it's the old earth. You are totally going to step up on the old earth for that short amount of time that you're here, which kind of scares people, but also feels like, oh, I'm going to be profoundly of service. Yes, now it makes sense why I've had to learn all of this stuff. And so, the old earth experience is like superhero boasting proud for your soul, because when you've overcome that and had your time on old earth, it's such a defining moments for souls. That is profoundly epic. If your soul's got a CV, that would go on the top of it, because there is nothing like this density. Nothing like this density. I mean, it's already horrific at this level right now. So moving forward, after seeing heaps of big light workers having to shift and having all this extra carnage happening on the planet, all of this extra shock and density, and then, with the Gaia's energy officially being removed, it's going to be what they say in sessions is like a dead rock. Not only this planet, but our vibrations, if we buy into it and don't know how to release the density and the tensions and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, it's going to be epic. It's definitely going to be epic. And unfortunately, I wish I could say, oh, all is fantastic. It's just a mindset. So you just like create love and light in your mindset and all will be well. I mean, wouldn't that be fantastic? But we've had those opportunities to, you know, profoundly change humanity for a long, long, long time with that. And it didn't work out. So because most people didn't want to do that, or they didn't want to put in their energy to do that, to help others and to see the benefit that they would give themselves through that. So the soul of the planet, once it leaves, will not be replaced with any other soul. As we heard previously in sessions, the old earth is too toxic, and we were hearing that the planet would be completely destroyed because it's just too toxic. It would implode into itself, and so that density would not be a menace to other neighboring planets, as it has already done before. So it's a big crew, big cleanup crew. But now we have heard that they have changed their minds. The collectives have changed their minds, and they want to move this planet to a different location out of harm's way while it's dense and depressing. It's sad, isn't it? Because it's so beautiful. It is so beautiful, and it had the potential to be paradise. Not bitter and twisted much, but anyway, so, you know, we've already heard this in sessions, but for those people who haven't listened to all of this information, I'm just going to recap because I want to help you guys. And I know that many of you are refusing to listen to the sessions because they're so long and blah, blah, blah. So I want to inform you of the information we've got from sessions, from many consistent sessions now, is that the planet is now being moved to a new relocation, and it's going to take quite some time for it to be cleansed and cleared, and it's going to be, you know, a really big deal to have to, you know, refurbish it. And so that is fine, that is great. You know, it's going to be a hobby for some collective or some beings, and that is, you know, remarkable, because there is so much good structures here, I guess. And so instead of just, you know, removing the whole thing from existence, it's actually, you know, it's going to have a birthday and the spruce up kind of thing. It won't be Gaia's soul that comes back onto that planet. It will be potentially another soul, but because it's so far in the future and there's heaps of possibilities, no soul yet has stepped up to it to take on that mission. So, you know, it is open for having souls walk into the empty vessel of the planet, but that is not allowed, because it would just be too tremendous. It would be not what any soul would want to do. There's no purpose in profoundly traumatizing a soul like that. Because Gaia has already experienced it, and that's when you can have those small imprints of that experience versus actually having to feel it yourself. And so, you know, they don't play with these sort of things. They don't want to add more density to other souls. And so, you know, asking sessions about it, it's quite fascinating if you truly are interested in how this planet is going to be refurbished and what is going to happen after. So the old earth experience is super significant and important too. Those experiences on the old earth are profound, and the way that they see it is that they will, you know, really sort of change the course of history in our time. Our future history and time gets really complicated, but fantastic at the same time. So lots of people have to experience really challenging experiences to mature and be responsible for their choices and actions. And so next lifetime, they're not going to be so inconsiderate to other beings and other planets and things like that. So there's so much, you know, and there is not just Earth's karma from beings. You come in, if you have had other lifetimes on other planets, you know, when you keep compiling and working out your lessons and experiences for your soul, you know, you learn from certain planets, and you come and you still are adding onto it and expanding onto it. And so this is this is really interesting how the soul still is growing with every planet. And so if you've got karma and bad things happened, or you did bad things, or whatever and other planets, you still are here working on that. And so it's not just earthbound karma. And again, karma is really what we choose in our life contracts to learn and grow from. And so, we're wanting constant lessons and experiences. And, this is what our master guides are for, is to make sure that we are nudged into the right areas to have those right experiences for those experiences and lessons. So, sorry, blah, 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 blah. There is something else I wanted to say before I go. Pardon me. Oh. While we love our labels and we're so attached to our dates because we think that dates are super significant and really important to the universe and our collectives, time is a man-made construct. And we kind of dumbed ourselves down when we started relying on dates and time, actually like physical hours, because we relied on what the clock said versus what the day is doing. And so we sort of really missed the nuances of the cycles and the seasons. So we became so out of touch with our environments when we relied on calendars and the clock. And so we've explored that quite a lot in sessions. And so I find it really interesting when lots of people are holding on to special dates because of repeated numbers. So numbers are interesting too, because again, they have man-made assumptions and meanings, which is cute and all. And, everyone wants to have a sign from the universe that you're a special unicorn. But when we keep seeing these influences making big significant claims about certain dates, that's all fine and all. But when there is no actual tangible evidence that any of these things that you're saying is occurring, like I just heard recently about a portal being opened, and last, on the 8th of the 8th, there was a portal, and on this, the 2nd of the 2nd, there was a portal, and on the 22nd of the 2nd, there's a portal. And we just keep hearing all of this stuff, which sounds all exciting and significant. And then people want to have like group meditations to celebrate this portal, blah, 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 blah. What about all the other dates? What about all the other times that we can actually be celebrating and supporting and trusting all as well? And I kind of just feel like these dates get given such attention that everything else kind of gets washed over. And, these big influencers are claiming all this certain stuff. It just gets really disheartening that people would trust that these days are really significant. Every day is really significant. And when people are saying, oh, you will shift into consciousness on this, it's because they still think that the new earth is here. And so every day there is a potential for people to shift into consciousness. Every single minute there is. And so does it give you hope for you to hear that everyone will awaken to their consciousnesses on a certain date and time? Does that make you feel good and excited? And then does that raise your frequency vibration? Like, what are you still hanging on to, and what are you still needing? Dates for consciousnesses and portals to happen and events, because nothing's really happening the way that they're saying it is. It's still daily steps for people to awaken to the other agendas that are not empowering humanity, and for them to have that experience. And that many people can have massive epiphanies, but it still takes them some time to process those epiphanies. They have that range of doubt, disbelief, struggling to see how it all fits in, and then the truth. You can turn on the light bulb to people to be profoundly awoken, but it takes them some time to process that. And so, that the collectives can't just activate everyone instantly. They could easily do it, but what would that take from them? Those experiences to naturally, organically experience it, to learn from it and grow from it. It would take so much karmic connections away potentially. There is actually reasons why they can't interfere. And while we have asked many times in sessions for people to have profound epiphanies and all this sort of stuff, we can't take away anyone's experiences, but what we're asking from the collectives is to help support us for those who can have these epiphanies, for those who are stuck, because they are the people that have blocked down their subconsciouses so much. They're not asking for help or support. They haven't used their free will in ages to do anything to profoundly impact and empower themselves. And so we got permission to be able to help them through their teams and their subconsciouses. So we negotiated with them, and it was incredibly successful. But still, those people who need to be on their own independent journey to have these experiences organically, they cannot be awoken because of my wish list for them. There still needs to be universal law, I guess, and people need to be protected. And we even know this in sessions when we ask, can you heal my client profoundly from certain things that are happening to them? And the subconscious is like, this is a lesson. They have to learn and overcome it. Once they learn and overcome it, the problem, and understand it, that their mindsets are causing this disease or this issue, once they release that, then it will stop. It will no longer be. And so the subconscious is like, yeah, I could totally fix that in a heartbeat. But where is the lessons there? Where is the experiences and the growth for that soul? So they don't want to meddle and interfere with our lessons and experiences to overcome things, to empower ourselves. Because if they are our own helicopter parents, it doesn't sort of work. These life experiences are for the lessons to grow and empower and evolve the soul. So I feel like they're saying there's so much to tell them. And I'm like, I know, but where do I end the line of conversations? So lots of food for thought. And, these, it is incredible times. And we can all feel very empathic to each country and each situation. And, we wish we could just say to them, this is your life contract. You've asked for it. Embrace it. Enjoy the ride. All will be well. I mean, that's not going to go well for them, is it? So we have to support them with so much love, some tenderness, and some compassion as they're going through their own journeys. And we can all laugh about it in other dimensions as we took it all so seriously, and how embarrassing with those snot bubbles and pity parties and disempowerment. I know a lot of you came to Earth and you didn't want to. And I understand that, because it's so dense and so challenging and so draining and so exhausting. And it's signing up to hang out with a whole lot of feral souls who are angry and hateful and dishonest and deceiving and all of that stuff. And it doesn't inspire enlightened, high advanced souls to go and play out with those kind of kids, because it's draining. And yet you're supposed to be there and be compassionate and kind and empowering and supportive and jazz handsing and not lose your mind along the way. And, that's just the state of how humanity got. And it kind of never grew with maturity. And so many people just accept bad behavior and controlled systems. And that it's so strange, because they accept all the stuff that doesn't empower humanity. They don't believe anything can change, and they want to live within the boxes of these societies and systems. And that's not really giving them much joy. In fact, it's just giving them big mortgages and big expectations of what they should be showing as being successful in life. So anyway, so much to say, my friends. If I haven't told you this today, I'm telling you this now. I love you. And I really, truly hope that you can take these this information lightheartedly. I know it's a lot to process, but there is so much more than this earth. And we have been so much more than these lives on this earth. And all is well as we're all having these interesting experiences on earth. Look forward to more people awakening, because they will naturally, because this energy is unavoidable, which is of course stirring up lots of people to feel frustrated. So we just love them, love them, love them, love them, love them. And that's all we can do. And it gives me great happiness to love. I actually feel really quite great inner peace and a great happiness to be able to love freely, all because it gives me great inner peace. So there's something to be said about keeping our vibrations high and balanced, and all is well. Okay, have a fantastic day. Please make sure you drink lots of water, and just send love and compassion to all who are really struggling at this time.